Apologize. So I have analyzed power chaos as well.
Okay. If you, it goes the next step up from that. If you wanted that, is either twice a day for analyzed power chaos or detailed chaos power analysis. But the one to climb the tree would be going to Logra summoning 1 second try, because this tree is really weird and weird looking because chaos.
So Logris summoning 2 gets me to the next.
No, it's Logra summoning 1 second try gets you. That's the one that leads to more shit. But this is
that's
very.
what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Logris.
Hold on, let me copy paste that. Copy.
How do I look now, Freddy?
Try.
You do realize I can still see you.
Did I change color?
Kind of.
All right.
Oh, you have that ability too, do you?
That's right, mate.
Well, I can do that too.
I stand proudly.
Don't forget, I think does that cost magic points when you use
it's
it?
2.
Yeah, it's 2 magic points.
Then you're
attempt.
barely down anything, yeah. Because failure is only like 1, so you're golden.
Oh, I have more than I thought then. Yeah, I had marked off 2 even for the failed attempts.
Is that your current notes, Chris?
What's that?
Is that your notes you're holding up?
Oh yeah, I was just.
I thought you were showing me your notes going, these are the ones not destroyed.
Yeah, and even these ones are a little bit destroyed.
Stand still, Wes, and let me pump you with some juice.
I stand still. I widen my stance.
Here we go.
I don't want you passing out in the middle of our adventure, because you don't have enough juice.
Thanks, mate.
Hold on, this might take a while.
You can do it, mate. You're a winner.
Alright, gain 6 back.
You really feel encouraged by him. He's like a natural born leader. He's got charisma. Freddy?
I beam at him.
Alright. There you are. You'll get 6 MP back.
Feeling a little bit more pep in my step. Thanks, mate.
So, what would you guys like to do? I feel you've given a really good briefing.
Well,
I gave plenty of cards for that shit.
I think I've got a couple more questions actually from.
Please, go ahead.
I could just reorganize my notes here.
Yes.
And there's more to the city. I just gave you the most relevant ones.
You should tell Chris what a great thing the Scrivener is, because his notes are all over the place and on little pieces of paper, and sometimes he writes them on toilet paper.
Yeah, that's actually that's what I was just doing. I was kind of moving some notes into Scrivener from Roll20.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely helps with the organization part. Okay, so you told me about the gazebo, swimming pool, the bomb shelter, the rock thing. You said there's several layers. Grandfather clock, it's an anchor. Now, Doc, when you were describing the grandfather clock, you said it's an anchor, and there's anchors like it in different zones. Are there what else is an anchor like that grandfather clock? What are the artifacts?
Other grandfather clocks.
There's other grandfather clocks you've come across, just like that?
Well, in Amber, yeah.
There is one in Amber. However, there's also one, and there's in other zones. There are other ones.
Oh, really? I've never seen another one.
Yeah, there was a thing where we became ghosts, and there was one in there.
Oh.
There's a place where you became ghosts, and there was one in there. Was it a ghost town of Burlyton, or a different zone altogether?
Different zone altogether. It was a pocket. It was a pocket, small pocket shadow that was on a repeat, like a 24-hour repeat. Mm-hmm. It was like World War II, I think, or one.
So
biplanes.
So you think it's an anchor of some sort? Why would there need to be an anchor? And you said that something is drawing power from the anchor itself. Something is siphoning.
So what I
Off the
think
power?
that these anchors are is I think that these anchors are what powers the shadow, like to do different things. Like maybe it was infused with some kind of like pattern power, and then it's like somehow attached to Amber itself. So that's why Burlington always resets, and it has the power to always reset. But if that power is interrupted, then maybe that's why it doesn't reset quite the same anymore, because the power is getting sucked away from it. Because if you think about it, if that's a magical thing, that's actually pretty big.
Mm.
And see, it always resets to the same way, which in my opinion is a very pattern thing. It doesn't like change when it reappears.
So an
If that makes sense.
interesting story that I probably mentioned at some point. A long while ago, I was with some other guy who's not been around for a while. We were in Burlington, the original one before the water and everything, and we were trying to figure out a way to fix Gotham before it went to shit. And we actually picked up the grandfather clock.
And
Oops, sorry. And I had just this terrible sense of dread and danger that if we were to move it out of this zone, bad shit would happen. So we put the clock back. So that just confirms the theory that it's some sort of an anchor.
Well, I've also tried to turn the time back to see if anything happened.
Mm.
and what happened?
The same kind of dread and whatnot.
You got a bad feeling in your tummy?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
The zone like started to shake a little bit too.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
There was like an actual physical response?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, when Doc analyzed the clock the other day, he mentioned that this parasite or tapeworm thing, whatever that's in it, is both here and not here, which leads me to believe that it's in one of the lower layers of Burlington, based on what we've discovered so far. So
Or it
might,
could be in all.
or it could be in all of them, too. And if so, where?
With the which could be in all of them? This the version of the clock?
This thing that's sucking the power from the
Oh,
clock.
right. So that was going to be my next question. So you got the impression that something is drawing power from the clock. Something is siphoning off power. How did you determine that?
Oh, it's because I analyzed the pattern in it.
So something pattern-based is siphoning off power?
Well, do we know if it's pattern-based? It
Or
might
just
not be.
through you were sensing the pattern of the clock,
Mm-hmm.
and that told you that something was siphoning power off
Yeah.
of it.
We don't
Mhm.
know what that something is. Nor do we know where it is. We just know it's here and not here.
Do you think that's the way it's always been, though? Or do you think that's new?
I think that's what it's been for a while, because it started off like it's not. It started off not quite as smoky as it is. Now it's much more wispy. The smoke. It's kind of like
Wait a minute. In Burlington? So
well, like right here, looking at the
before-
clock.
Yeah.
It like wasn't as bad. So kind of like
When?
when you get motion blur on something, when it's going really fast compared to when it's going a little bit slower. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
When was the last time you saw this clock like that?
Oh, every time I've seen it, it's just it seems like it's gotten progressively worse.
The
Because the last
first
time I
time,
saw it, it looked like an actual clock, right?
well, you
Right.
haven't been in Burlington for a while.
Well, see, it's also like so. What I'm thinking is that since Burlington has now multiple versions of Burlington, and it has subversions of Burlington, it's kind of like it's spread across all of them, which is why it's wispier.
So this all started, by the way, with the grandfather clock, when we discovered that the pattern had moved. So when the pattern moved, we went to Burlington, and the clock was all wispy and shit.
This is before it became the underwater
This
Burlington.
is before underwater Burlington, yes.
Ah, I did not realize that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the clock is being stretched between multiple versions of Burlington.
By the way, the underwater Burlington's still there, but if you ever try to use Clem's, he'll give you this warning. Burlington's underwater, danger, danger, yada, yada, yada. Do you want to go there? If you say no, he'll take you to your
So do you think
desired destination.
that's probably where the original clock then is, right? Still?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes, and also, so in the same sense of that, because original Clem's is there, and Clem's is built into Ghost Wheel. Okay, so with Clem's being built in a Ghost Wheel, and since that's the original, and it's being damaged, that's why I'm saying that it's going to affect all Clem's, because it's a part of Ghost Wheel, and Ghost Wheel is a part of is like the framework for our quote-unquote universe, which is why if that one fails, all of them will fail.
Now, just to make sure I understand that, you're saying the Clems in this zone, or in the Clems in the underwater zone? If that gets destroyed, it'll impact them all.
That's the one that we have to worry about. Like, we legit need to go there and fix the problem. And the sooner the better.
How
At this point, I don't know that for sure, but there could be things working against, like they could be working on it somehow there too, since we haven't been there, and they're all underwater people there now. So
now let me ask you some more stuff about this, because you keep referring to Ghost Wheel as though we are inside him versus
This is his multiverse, shadow dimension, whatever you want to call it. He made this.
I like to think, right, I get that.
Yeah.
Because when we met Merlin, remember, he trumped Ghost Wheel and said some of yours got out of their box.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, as a way of conceptualizing what's happening here, is, are we actually inside Ghost Wheel, or are we inside some little battery he's created that's fueling his flying saucer?
well, okay, so let's say that this is Ghost Wheel, like this circle. Ghost Wheel is in the middle, like he's the hub, okay? And that's the control room. And then on the hub are spokes to the wheel. And on those spokes, on the outside are where the major shadows are. And then on the spokes is where the smaller versions of those major shadows are. Because there's always shadows of shadows.
Right. You're describing the shadow. You're almost describing how shadows branch out from Amber. So you're
That's
saying
exactly right.
Will pattern himself after Amber?
Yes. However,
Or
there is...
has he created some sort of artifact that is independent of him?
Ghost Wheel is an artifact. It's just a gigantic artifact.
Yeah,
Right.
Merlin
Merlin
made
made Ghost Wheel. I realize that, but I'm trying to figure out if we are somehow separated from Ghost Wheel. Because if we are inside Ghost Wheel, and at any given time, one of his ancillary shadows that he's integrated, why is he allowing sort of back doors from other parties inside of himself? So, for example, Clem's is sort of a Ghost Wheel system. Why is he allowing some kind of void to be in the back of some of those Clems that go to a shadow pocket of someone?
So if you think about Ghost Wheel is like an artificial intelligence. He was created from Merlin. So maybe other versions of artificial intelligence, when we first began everything, there were different colors, which were different factions of different artificial intelligences. Now, if you think about that, those could also be shadows of Amberites from the way they all kind of act. So you have all these different artificial intelligences that all want to do their own thing. So they start making different things in the background. And we're all products of, like, we are memories that of real things. And since Merlin created Ghost Wheel with all of those memories, we are shadows. We're shadows of once we once were. But we went to Amber and we became real and then came back. So now we are real, where everybody else is kind of a shadow of what it all is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're more real, I would think, because if we
weren't real before, but
still
we're real now.
If we still exit the firewall and go to Amber, for example, we're still going to dissipate at some point, yes?
And then die.
We had enough energy when
you
we had enough
there,
energy to
you?
become real. Yeah, well, because the more you get more real, the closer you get to actual Amber. But once I inscribed the pattern here, everybody here is now more real, which is why we've not seen anybody, like everybody in the shadows now, they're a little bit of Amber now. They're not what they once were. We've all become real. So we're all which is why it started pushing out, destroying other worlds, because I created a new pattern, which is why, the people in Amber kind of freaked out, because they didn't know how powerful that could get and how far out it could, because eventually that could cause a pattern war. Because they have the primal pattern, so they're going to be always more powerful. So, like, if we create another primal pattern here, and we kept compounding the pattern here, it will continue, and then this will be the new quote unquote Amber, right?
I mean, obviously the easiest way to quote unquote fix this is to balance it out with a low risk.
Right, and when we do that, that stops the pattern from just going out. But since our pattern is only so strong, it could probably only go out so far and then stop. However, now that there's power being sucked from the clock, which is connected to the clock in Amber, maybe that's what's fueling and making it still go out further. And also now at this point, Janice is the one that controls it all. So now she is trying to make her own, like, maybe she's like, she wants to be like the grand ruler. And though,
why would Ghost Wheel let Janice just
because Ghost Wheel is still not a complete person. It's still a framework. It's still an artifact. It is still an item, and its intelligence only gets so big, and then it stops. And then if you are the controller, now that person, and if you align with what it wants, all it cares about is being ordered. Ghost Wheel is all about making everything ordered until you give it other commands. So it's like a computer.
Are you sure Ghost Wheel is all about order?
Yes, because there is no Logris here.
Well, yet.
Freddy, give me a spot hidden roll. Just you.
Okay. I swear it's the... I don't even know what this is going to be. A backwater.
You notice that on the bar, one of the drink coasters looks like that?
Yeah, I know. Before you even said what it was, I knew what it was.
My job is very rewarding.
How do you know what Amber, Chaos, Ghost Wheel, and all that just aren't simulations from your memory, Doc? Or our memories? How do we know we're not in some kind of MyGo simulation?
I don't. But once we became real, now I know for sure that we aren't.
isn't that what they wanted us to think?
Because we became real boys.
Simulated. Couldn't we just be simulated to seem more real?
That's what we were in Ghost Wheel until we broke out and became real.
What if this is just another version of us being real, and it's even more real than this?
Well, that's what the whole part of inscribing the pattern was. Now, before that, we probably could have hit a reset button, and the experiment would have reset, and it would have continued. But now that we've all become real, we all have influence of some kind. And whoever controls Ghost Wheel, that is the person who's deciding really the fates. It's just it's hard to do. And Ghost Wheel does have its own intelligence, so it does know what it wants to do too. So you have to work with it. If you work against it, then you have to work hardcore against it, which is why I'm thinking that Janice is doing what she's doing, because she's working hardcore against what Ghost Wheel wants.
Let me ask you something, going way back. You and he whose name shall not be spoken and some other blokes went to encounter Ghost Wheel. You took the gem with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why were you taking the gem to Ghost Wheel?
Because remember when our shadow was becoming all crazy and...
No, way back before then.
No. He's talking
way
about...
back before then.
In a different lifetime.
Oh. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, because nothing fucking dies in Logan's brain.
So, to destroy... Because I believe there was a pattern in there, and we were going to use the gem to destroy that pattern and to make a new one and reset Ghost Wheel the way we want it, not reset the entire universe.
There was already a pattern inside Ghost Wheel back then, separate from the pattern that was in Castle Amber? I
don't remember, but I believe it was something about needing to break the pattern that was in it or something.
So you went to Ghost Wheel to break the pattern that was in it. Why did you want to break the pattern that was in Ghost Wheel?
Because it was doing what it's doing now.
What's he doing now?
It's pushing out to become the pattern. Because in Amber, there's multiple patterns. There's like the primal pattern, there's the pattern in the castle, and then there's the pattern on the seafloor. Yeah. So those are the patterns that make up all the realism. And since we've made another pattern here, now that's encroaching upon the main pattern that's out there, which is like old school pattern wars and whatnot.
So so then
could I ask for an evidence analysis roll at a quarter from everybody? I don't expect anybody to get this, but if you do...
No, I'll play my skill 5 because it's just...
Let me go through my cards right quick.
Sorry.
Skill 10.
Let me get rid of a few things.
Okay.
Surveillance? Anybody want to surveil something?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Nope.
Murder.
Oh, murder in the dark.
Yeah, you guys could have used that fucking murder in the dark and when you were in the fucking dark the other day. The total number of flashlights in the group yesterday was amazing, Jay.
It's not my fault they keep disappearing. I'm tempted to use my handcart here somewhere just to put out a flashlight. But no, I'm probably going to pull out a sword or something. Since that also went away.
Slowly, we strip away all Freddy's gear.
I'm not at a quarter.
Cool. And Chris?
I'll play my skill 5 just to
Spice it
up. Yep.
Close.
Close. Not quite though.
Yeah. Cool. All is well. Please continue your conversation.
Anybody want to try that? I got a supporter reroll and a regular reroll. Anybody?
Probably better to give it Doc then.
You think Doc?
Trade me a card there. Oh wait, wrong person. Sorry. There you go.
What's this?
Trade me a card.
Okay. Don't really have much, but okay.
All right, so I'll play a supporter reroll then. So Doc can reattempt his.
Damn.
Oh, haha, very funny.
You can't tell me it's not going to be useful
No,
for you.
no, you're right.
What do you give him?
What's mine is mine.
Yeah. For you especially.
Nah.
Okay. All is well.
Do you have another one, Jay?
Got a regular reroll.
All right.
Want that?
I have an assistant 5, so I'll trade you for the reroll to the assistant 5, and then you play it on me, and then there we go. And last time. Boop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. Right. One of the more interesting questions that was brought up, I believe, by Rasslin Rad is essentially, he phrased it differently, but why would you be given autonomy within Ghost Wheel's thing, especially after becoming real boys, as you put it? That's an interesting question there that has your mind kind of going on a little loop now. You're like, what is Ghost Wheel getting out of you being autonomous?
Well, it's because he wants us to fucking make the logos. This is all.
Well,
Ghost Wheel's plan.
that could be it, but there could be other things as well.
But deeper than that, but I think he's thinking of the deeper why.
I mean, it seems like it's strong enough to maybe just fucking get shit elsewhere type thing. Why use you? That's what's troubling Doc right now. I'm now wondering if I should just copy this whole briefing into like a what's going on video and have that published on the website. Because it's not really interfering with any current plots. It's all overarching stuff. So.
Yeah, so we were discussing Ghost Wheel's motivation. So you said basically Ghost Wheel himself wants to become more powerful, but at the same time, how could he be motivated if because you seem to think he's programmed to be motivated. So obviously you think Merlin has total control over him.
No.
But I suspect you don't.
Merlin lost control of him long ago.
So who controls him?
No one.
He controls himself. He's an artificial intelligence.
But maybe I misunderstood you, but you seem to be contradicting yourself because you seem to have described him as not being programmed to act autonomously almost.
So, do you remember War Games?
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't learned everything yet.
Okay.
So, do you remember how, like, the Whopper, like, it had to fight itself multiple times? And it still took how many simulations for it to figure out? And then that was just the happy ending that we got because it was a movie.
Vaguely. So here's a couple other things I want to...
Chris is dying again.
Are you back? Okay, cool.
He's kind of moving around like he's a stop animation guy, but...
So
Well, I can hear everybody. So if you guys can hear me,
Yeah, now I can hear you, but it's cool how that happened just when he's like, I have a brilliant idea. Ghost Wheel went, nope. And he went,
So actually, that could also be why he's letting us run around. We're another part of like what happened. It's like if things are influenced, let them do these things, and then I will gather data.
Now, let me ask you some other things that I think might be connected. It might kind of give us some evidence as to the why this exists. So, Ghost Wheel back in the day, you remember, you were taking the Jewel of Judgment to Ghost Wheel to break the pattern in Ghost Wheel and hopefully inscribe a new pattern, hoping that that would make him stop being a bad boy and give you more control over it. Now, before that point, what was the point of Ghost Wheel? My understanding is that Merlin created him to sort of catalog the shadows. The Amberites didn't like that he even existed. So what was Ghost Wheel's function before you went to destroy the pattern? Do you remember that exactly? What was he being used for?
That I don't know. All right. We didn't have a lot of insight into him then. So we have much more information now than we did before.
Right.
Like
so
ridiculous
let's leave that there. So before we don't know exactly what Ghost Wheel is being used for. My recollection is that the Amberites didn't like him, didn't want it. I think Suede wanted to keep it around as some sort of prison or something for someone or something. But my understanding, it was built to sort of go out there, catalog the shadows, to allow Merlin to maybe travel between them or do research more effectively. But now we are inside Ghost Wheel's box. Now, before you inscribed the pattern inside Ghost Wheel or inside Ghost Wheel's box, you encountered different places and people that were part of this Golden Circle trade accord, right? These were people that were allowed to travel to Amber to trade.
I think it's an actual Amberite thing.
Now, do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, the Golden Circle.
Like, I've heard of them.
You remember the droiders who love their Kahlua and they sail?
Yeah.
They are a member of this Golden Circle or Cycle Trade Accord. They are people from different shadows. There's different factions that are a member of this Golden Circle. And I think the whole purpose of it is these are people that are allowed to travel shadow to trade with Amber. Now, if we are inside Ghost Wheel's box or inside Ghost Wheel, why would Amberites want to allow simulated creatures to travel out of Ghost Wheel's box to Amber? So I'm wondering, Ghost Wheel created all this as an alternative to existing shadows, or is he taking all the shadows and putting them inside his box? And now they have to get inside his box to get resources.
So that's I think those are two different things.
And now his motivation is to have us create a pattern, create a Logos. He is now more real and independent and has all the leverage. Because he has created a multiverse to extract resources from.
True. However, I think that's not a product of what Ghost Wheel wanted. I think that happened because Ghost Wheel's letting that happen because he's wanting to see how Amberites are affecting what's going on because he's a part of that world. Now, I think the Golden Circle is probably definitely run by multiple Amberites or even Amber and Chaos. An alliance, yes. So that's not just like one person. Right. But what I'm also thinking is that, so you talked about Ghost Wheel wants to become more powerful because Ghost Wheel's motivation was to like catalog all the shadows. Well, if you want to catalog all the shadows to make it easier, why don't we put it in the card catalog, which would mean that we want to order them in this way. Which is why he wants, as the Ghost Wheel, he wants to put each shadow onto a spoke, and then each shadow goes out from there, and each difference goes in line as to what he organizes it as. And since he lost the power from the Gem of Judgment, something happened to dislodge his power, which happened back in the, like, so we gave it the power, and he was able to do that. But then somehow through time, the shadows shifted. So now that we've given him power, we've inscribed the pattern, and it's slowly building out. It is slowly rearranging where shadows are. So if you think of like shadows as planets, it's now building it out kind of like an atom. And it's building it in its organized way that it wants to do. It being Ghost Wheel. Because that's what it's built to do, to catalog our shadows. So it's still, that's its basic programming still. However, now Janice, who now has influence, is saying, yes, we can do that, but I also want to do this. But we don't know what her other motivation is. We don't know what she wants to do with it all as well. And now the reason it's harder for us to go out is because Janice, being Mildred's daughter, wants to protect us from ourselves. And if we leave here, we can die. But if we're here, it's easier for us to stay alive. So she's kind of being an overbearing parent right now, since we didn't protect her the way that we should have in her mind. She is now protecting us from ourselves because we're very chaotic and we do a lot of harm. So let's keep the bad things here, which is why it's harder for us to travel. It's harder for us to use these powers to do this.
And protecting us from the Amberites as well.
Right, yes.
Both ways.
From everything. And then she can like monitor us here, which is also why there's probably, we find these bugs and we find these different things. Because if she has influence over the AIs that are still aligned with Ghost Wheel and what Ghost Wheel wants, that's probably something that she can do as well. Hovering for sure.
So, what do you think Ghost Wheel's end game is? What does it all boil down to?
What it all boils down to is that Ghost Wheel wants to put everything in alignment where it belongs, as it believes it belongs, and only as it believes in the order of things. And eventually, since the center of the universe is Amber, it wants to take over Amber, or it becomes more powerful than Amber, and then it orders everything as it believes it should be, and that's the way it is because that's what it's programmed to do.
So do you believe that Ghost Wheel then orchestrated the whole find the Gem of Judgment and
yes,
bring it to random?
Yes.
And do you think he's also the one behind wanting us to create the Logos as well? Or is that just justice that was telling us to do that?
Well, no, because I think that when we start doing things that Ghost Wheel wants us to do, it's going to give us a little bit of freedom and let us do what we want to do. And it's always kind of like hinted us back to where we needed to be. So now, if we inscribe the Logos here, yes, it will become more powerful, but then also we do too.
So it wants us to do that, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. Now, if anything, it could have gotten so powerful because it knows Merlin so well that maybe it's not even the real Merlin, but I'm not sure. I don't know enough. I'm not I'm not there yet. I don't have any evidence for that. However, though,
You don't know if it's really Granddad?
it might not be. Now, here's another thing, though, too, is because of the way that they act. When I saw them, like Fiona and Random, Ghost Wheel doesn't know them as well, so they're facsimile. They're like could be like maybe by watching us, it's learning how to make shadows of other people. So maybe they are in prison somewhere in Ghost Wheel, for all we know. And it could be in so Fiona could be somewhere in Ghost Wheel, in like the actual Ghost Wheel, not like the shadows of it. And since that's why they get ignored also, because now things from our universe are so real that it, like people that are outside where Amber is, it looks all as real. And maybe there's enough power in them that they, because like how the shadows here, they ignore us sometimes, or they ignore like the Harlequins. Well, that same power could be in Fiona and Random right now. So that way, even if they are under suspicion, like someone could be like, well, they are just infused with, no, don't worry about this. Oh no, don't worry about this.
Or maybe the Amberites know that.
I wouldn't say they know outright, because then again, you also got to realize that Amber is always going to have that power play. So now they are all doing their own thing because they all want to be king, or they all want to have more power in Amber.
So
there's so many factions at this point that you don't know. There is no good guys and bad guys. It's all become so gray. And because it's all become so gray, that makes Ghost Wheel want to do it even more. If that makes sense. Because Ghost Wheel wants the good guys and the bad guys, and that's it. This is the way it is, because this is 1 and 1 is 2. That's it. And that's how it's programmed, because it's a big computer, basically.
So, okay, let's say that we eventually made the Logos here, somewhere. Mm-hmm. What do you think Ghost Wheel will do next?
It will start... Well, that's why it's already slowly ordering the shadows. That's why there's subversions of... Like, all the subversions now are coming, because they're going along that spoke. So all the shadows will eventually come there. Like, those... Because since everything's so chaotic... It's pulling it in, but it has to become more powerful and move out.
Right. So it's just gonna make our universe a bit more orderly once we do whatever it wants us to do, essentially.
Right. But now we need to decide, do we want that or not? If we did do that, do we become the new powers, since we're from here originally? Do we care if that happens? And what if that does happen, how does it affect everything? Is it that bad a thing to have everything ordered that way? Because then we could more easily travel on all these places as well, eventually, when we know more. Or do we want it to be chaotic? Because the more order there is to it, the less control there is to it from everybody. I mean, and then, then eventually Ghost Wheel becomes like the overlord of everything, and if just gets bored, it can just reset everything, which could kill everything. So we don't know. So then, like, whoever influences him has to make sure that we all don't die, or somehow there's like code making sure that we don't get reset.
I don't believe a word of it.
And yes, this is all a lot of intuitive thinking, and like just thinking of like how things in the past have been, and how I know that it's because I still remember as I was fading out of existence that the shadows all started moving and being put into place, as everything was put into the order that Ghost Wheel wanted.
Back on a second.
What if we just destroy the pattern that we created inside Ghost Wheel? That balance things out, yeah?
And we would not exist anymore.
Why did we exist before?
Because we were powered. Well, we'd be powered by a Ghost Wheel, and if we unpowered Ghost Wheel, everything that's inside of Ghost Wheel would probably turn off. Because I believe all the shadows are powered by that.
Essentially, if we destroy the pattern, it will literally tear our reality apart. It's what's called a shadow storm, as I believe one of the Amberites or the Courts of Chaos people coined it, and it will literally tear our reality to shreds.
So think about it this way.
Someone in Chaos told you not to destroy the pattern, otherwise it'll destroy everything?
No, they said that if a pattern was to be destroyed, it will tear the reality that it's in to shreds. Not specifically ours, just in general.
So maybe it'll just destroy the village at this point?
I think it'll destroy everything in Ghost Wheel.
So think about it this way.
Ghost
Wheel's a computer, and it has servers. And on each server is a different world. All right? So what happens if we turn off the computer that powers the servers? All the servers go down. Maybe the memory stays, maybe it doesn't. We don't know. But then how long do we wait until we become powered on again? Which might be also what happened here as well. Maybe eventually the power that was in the server, being Ghost Wheel, was it was reset. And then the simulation, which is what we all were, turned on again. So if you think about it like that, in the terms of like a game, like we're all a part of a game. And that's us, and we're all different simulations that are being played. And Ghost Wheel is playing all these games at once. And until we inscribed the pattern, we weren't real. But now our universe is becoming real because we've grown in power. So maybe it's letting us do our thing to see how much more powerful we become, and then it will make Ghost Wheel more powerful.
Well, it seems like if we're around for anything, it's to help him become more real by walking the pattern inside him and creating a Logos inside him.
And then he becomes the ultimate power eventually.
Right. So one thing I'm wondering is, the shadows that we are accessing, are they the original shadows that it somehow integrated, or are they copies of all those shadows?
They're shadows of shadows.
Copies, yeah.
So why?
I'm kind of curious to know.
Why is he allowing? Why would Amber want factions from Ghost Wheel's copy?
They don't know where. They didn't know where we were from.
They don't. They're not thinking of it that way. They're thinking of it as, how can I make this profit from this area?
Mm-hmm.
Like what with the trading and everything, that's just them doing their Amber thing. Like, becoming more influential, getting power over here. Like, for all we know, they could be building up armies in different shadows that we don't know about. And they're getting ready to march on each other.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I don't think they know our universe specifically. I don't think they know that Ghost Wheel made this shadow and that he's controlling everything. They don't know where we're from, essentially. Like, they've asked us, and we've all been quite
because Ghost Wheel itself is kind of now made to not be looked at until we broke the first firewall.
Mm.
Because even then we were a curiosity, because Fiona had people watching like, what's this? And until then, they really, and even still, they didn't know exactly what we were. Because remember, we do have trumps of real Earth.
Well, we used to.
So,
yeah.
Right. So we are a shadow of what reality is. So if you think about it, as a universe, we're kind of like a virus at this point, and we're slowly pushing out.
That makes sense. And they're afraid because they don't know like what our plan is, and that's what your little eavesdropping session revealed last time we were there. Like they're a little bit, I wouldn't say afraid of us, but more curious to know now what are we up to.
Oh, definitely. And see, that's another problem, though, is that they continually underestimate us until shit starts. Like, they finally are now going, this fucking Doc guy is a dick. He's a bit like all of us now are on a different playing field, and they are now noticing. Like, they're finally just being like, shit, we gotta worry about this shit now. Like, they're real. They're really doing some shit now. And they're just realizing that because they have it so far in their heads that they are gods, that they can do as they please.
All right, who's they now?
Amber.
Anybody
Amber,
that's from like the core of Amber and the core of the Court's Chaos.
Courts of Chaos, yeah.
So until like
know.
you know how like we like for a while now I've been like, I don't care what happens on that shadow. They're not real people. That's how they feel about us. We ain't shit. And kind of we still aren't. But we've done some things to make them go, fuck, how the fuck did they do that? And if they can do that, what else can they do? And now they're starting
I'm
to
a little
worry.
confused because the way you two were talking, like Freddie, you had mentioned something about they don't know, the Amberites don't know where we're from.
Yeah, they don't know we're from Ghostville.
But now the Doc is saying they know that we're powerful and they know they need to keep the why would they feel that way? Why wouldn't they just expect that we're from Shadow?
Because somebody happened to mention the pattern in our multiverse, and
Well, because I told him. Yeah, I told Benedict that I had created a new pattern, and he about shit his pants a little bit. Like it was a very small slip, but he was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me? What did you do?" But he was more like, "Give me the damn gem."
Yeah.
So at that point, did you still have the gem on you, or had you already given it to random?
I had it on me. They didn't know I had it on me, and I made him jump through all these hoops, and then I gave it to him.
So you gave it to Benedict?
No, I gave it to random because he's the holder of the gem.
Random.
Right.
Yeah.
Random. Because I also made him walk the pattern, and in my mind, of course, if he walked the pattern, he has to be him. But now I don't think that anymore. I think that power, like, it was hard for him to do, which made me think, if it was that hard for him to do, it shouldn't have been. He's this ancient Amberite, and I didn't think about it until later. So he definitely has chaos in him because it makes it harder to do pattern. And he came from chaos, which makes it harder to do pattern. If you come from pattern and do pattern again, it shouldn't be as hard the second, third, fourth. Like, it's still hard, but it's not as hard, especially if you've been around as long as they have. So why was it such a pain in the ass?
And another reason to believe it's not random.
Exactly.
When I showed Slade the trump of random, he was like, "That's not random." So we had someone from that time that confirms that's not random. So yeah.
So
Question is, the funny thing is, we don't really know what we're doing or why we're doing it. We're just kind of, we did it because the universe was on a break. Oh, wait,
I definitely do fly by the seat of my pants. I will completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And I'm very good at being in the moment and making it happen. I'm not good at planning it out or why.
So let me ask you, because I'm still trying to make sense of your earlier comment, because Freddie was saying they don't know who we are, where we're from, but then when you told Benedict that you had created a pattern, he got surprised. Who does Benedict think you are and where you're from?
Well, because we walked the pattern and their arrogance, of course, somehow we are of Amberite blood, because otherwise, how could we ever walk the pattern?
Well, we are actually, because we did a DNA test. We're descendants.
Right, but now are we descendants because it was built from... So Merlin created this artifact. When we create artifacts, we put a piece of ourselves in the artifact. So, thus doing that, when he built Ghost Wheel, because we're products of Ghost Wheel, does that mean that we're products of Merlin to a degree?
That's why he calls us, that's why he referred to himself as grandfather, called us his grandchildren, and why there was alien DNA when they went and did the whole DNA test thing. So wait a minute. So when you told Benedict this, who does he think you are?
He thinks that I am somehow related to Merlin from, like he's our grandfather, but he just thinks that like one of the Amberites must have went off to a shadow, banged some broad, and I have some blood of Amber in me somehow, and that's how
So they think
I was able to come of power somehow and walk the pattern.
So they're assuming that you are Merlin's offspring or grandchild?
Do they actually think that?
Not Merlin, just a Amberite.
Yeah.
They don't know who.
So they assume you're some bastard.
Yeah.
Because it's not the first time. It's happened much more. And now that the Amberites have been around so long, the bloodline is so thinned out that they don't know for sure. And also, the stronger your blood ties are, is they will believe them a little bit more. Which is why when we keep doing these things, they keep kind of like looking over, but we're still commoners.
Well, you're just saying they're looking down on you because they think you're a bastard. So that's
not
fine,
just because I'm a bastard.
So they literally
because I'm
think...
not of...
Gotcha. Okay. So